Hello everyone, welcome back to Coding with Carl, the show where you get to watch me destroy my brain cells. Case in point, you get to see me destroy my brain cells by trying to code around Java and Android's API. This is a very special episode today because it is episode number 33, and 33 is my lucky number. So I'm hoping that it's not going to let me down, and today we're going to make some kind of breakthrough that will make this app the supreme app for goal tracking and goal attainment. That's right. Okay, if you are new to the show, I have a YouTube channel, and on that YouTube channel you can see all of the previous hours of this stream in their glory. I do recommend watching at ×2 speed. There's a little setting in YouTube that allows you to do that, because things can get slow from time to time, especially when I'm reading documentation. Because I am still new to Java and Android and don't have a lot of experience with it, and I'm learning as I'm going. I'm learning on stream so that you guys can see that you don't have to be a genius to write apps, and you don't even have to be that smart, really. You just get stuck in and do it. So that's what we're going to do. Bit of a tricky situation today because we haven't started the stream with anything unfinished. We're at a point where I'm fairly happy with all of the features we've implemented so far, and we haven't got anything outstanding, but we do have a to-do list over here, and there's a few things on it that you know, we could go in any direction. Prefilled tasks. This one is for when you have tasks that happen every day or at set intervals, like for example morning routine or gym or family dinner. These sorts of things happen. You don't want to be setting those every single day. You don't want to have to go in and create tasks for those every single day, so that is fairly important. But it does create a bit of a problem with our current data model, which is small and malleable, so that's not a huge problem, but we will have to change some things around. Starting reminder, this is a notification that a task is about to start. Swipe out menu. This is a nice to have, it's not so much a... I'm going to put that as, what shall I use for nice to have? Shall we have a star? That looks nice, doesn't it? Yeah, and we'll have a plus for the things that yeah. Focus mode, that is a nice to have. What have we got? Back button reverts back to today. That is a bug. We'll give those percentages. Move that around to there. DST switch fix, that is a bug also. Base SQL file and SQLite DB upgrade path, not so much of a big deal yet because we're not gearing up for a release, but when we do, if we stick with local storage, i.e. data being on the device, then we'll have to have this ready, because every time we do a new release it will screw the data set that they already have. If not, so that is I'm gonna put that as a nice to have for now, although it is kind of important. Slots invested in goal, hours invested in goal. This is fairly important to DD. There we go. So this is important, and I think this is more about time tracking. It's okay saying, yeah, this slot is, you know, I'm going to do this at this time, but the thing I wanted to achieve with this app is actually having the app having some idea that you're actually working on it. And the way I would like this to happen, rather than saying, okay, I've committed to invest in these goals, even though that might be important. How many slots have I committed to this goal? Well, that may not work because of pre-fills, right? But it would allow you to it would allow you to it would allow us to see how many hours we will have invested by date X. So that might be useful, but also what I wanted to have is actual seconds. Seconds might be the way to do it. I like doing everything in seconds because it makes it easy to calculate hours and things from. So something like seconds in a task, and I think that would probably be on the goal table. Yeah. And addition to the goal table, and maybe even the task table would be how many seconds we've actually put into it. And the way I would like to do that is using I think they call it a media notification. So if you've ever used Spotify on Android, you'll notice that you can control Spotify from the way you usually get your notifications. You can scroll down, and then they've got this big notification that has a play button in it and a pause button in it. And I thought we could utilize that, because if we have a notification that persists whenever you're supposed to be working in a slot, so say I've said that I'm going to code between 9 and 10. As soon as it hits 9 o'clock, I should see that notification in my taskbar, in my notifications bar, saying, right, you now should be coding. And I'd like to be able to say, yes, I am, or no, I'm not. And I think having a play pause thing would work. So whilst ever play is pressed, it's counting the seconds almost. Although I don't think it'll work that way. It'll probably be that when we press play, it'll create a start event, and it'll say, right, you press play at this point, this Unix timestamp, and then whenever you press pause, it stops, takes that amount of seconds, and then adds it to the goal and task table as time that you've invested. And then whenever you resume, it does it again. And I think that's going to be a pretty big job, but it would be a pretty cool feature. The media manager, media style Android notification, and I think an Android, from what I've read, service, which is something that runs in the background. It would be cool if we could play, pause, and the time between those events was added to the number of seconds that's in a new seconds invested field in the database. And I think it would also be nice if you could say it was something that you spent a considerable amount of time in before you start using the app, if you could pre-fill it. So you could say, right, I've probably got about 80 hours worth of doing this behind me already. Who knows? That would be cool. But out of these three things, I think that these two are kind of one and the same. I think Prefilled Tasks is more important. And there are some issues with Prefilled Tasks, as I said before. I think there's a few ways of doing this. So let's say like idea 1. What shall I use for idea? Yeah. So we could just have a table that contains patterns such as first Monday of every month, and a task and goal ID and query that table every day to make sure that we populate the 60-day or the 30-day future timescale that we are supporting in the app. So what that would do is every day it would create a new set of slots in the slot table that correspond to the prototypes, if you like. Is that a good word? Correspond to the prototypes in the prefilled table. And that could work. What if one conflicts? Who becomes the first class citizen? If you've already planned something, I mean, if we did this right up to the 30-day boundary, then it would be unlikely that it would, because you'd have to physically delete it before you could add something over the top of it, because it would exist before the task that you added, unless, of course, yeah, I mean, there's a unique constraint on it. So that might not be an issue. And I do kind of like that solution, to be honest, because it still keeps it really fast for us to query this slot table and populate the list. Whereas the second thing that I considered doing, option 2, is that we have a new field on the slot table that contains a pattern that we repeat over. But this completely breaks our existing data model because it's timestamp indexed. So there'd be a master slot that was created, and then you'd say, right, repeat this every such and such. So then you need to add a new field that's like, well, what is the pattern that populates that? I don't like this solution. I don't like it at all. So that one is out. How else could we do it? We could move entirely to a different data format for slots. What would the index be like on that? If we were how would we quickly look up the table and say, right, what's happening today? In order to do that, you'd have to go through all your tasks and you'd have to find the ones. Let's write it out. If we based the new format on a pattern, how would we effectively query that data? What would be the key? Because it wouldn't be the timestamp. It would have to be, there would have to be multiple keys. You'd have to have something like a column for every day. A binary column for every day, right? That's if set to 1 Yeah, that could work, but that limits us to, that severely limits us to having, yeah, I don't like it. I don't feel as if this, I honestly feel like the simplest thing to do is this first option, to have a table that has prototypes in it. And as far as extrapolation goes, I think if I got to an, yeah, how could I say, like, based on, yeah, that could work. It could work because it could say, if you wanted to ask how many hours have I committed, or how many slots have I committed to X goal between now and Xmas, then nobody's going to go through and manually insert slots for 6 months. That would be hellish. You'd do it with a prefill. And therefore what you could do is you could query your slot table first, pull out everything that matches a goal ID, and then add all that slot time up, and then look at, and then you could query the prototype table to see how often that repeats, and then add that to the calculation. So we could, this I think this format here gives us the best and the most freedom. So I know I've waffled on for nearly 20 minutes now. Yeah, probably nearly 20 minutes now, but it is so important to get your data format right. I can't stress that enough. In programming, data comes first. Everything is data driven. So it's no good going in and writing code if you don't know what your data looks like that you're operating on. Because that's all code does really. It just moves data around, mutates it, transforms it, that's it. So yeah, let's go with that one. We'll get rid of the other two. Should I leave them in there? No, get rid of them. Get them out of your mind. We've ruled them out. Okay, so what do we need? We need a new table. We need a prototype table. If not exists, prototype. I hope that's not a reserved word. No, I think it's just JavaScript. And let's have a think about what that would look like. It would look like a, so it'd be a task essentially. It would have a name, and that would probably be a task name. It could even be a task. It could just be a task ID, a goal ID, a pattern, how can we make it less expensive to look up this table? I guess, I don't think we can, to be honest. Yeah, I think it has to be this way, and it will have a slot size as well. And we need to think about what that pattern's going to look like. Okay, let's have a think about that then. What kind of patterns do we want to store? Because pattern is a data format and data is important, as I've just said, so let's go through it and figure it out. Okay, so we might want to do things like every day. That's the one I see happening most often. At time. Okay, You might want to do twice a day. No, because that would still fit into every day at a time. You just create 2. You might want to do weekly at time. You might want to do day of week at time. You might want to do day of month at time. Or you might want to do on a certain year, date of year. Just do it once a year, twice a year. And I guess the thing I'm seeing here is that there's a repeat interval, right? And that's in, it's not really, it's not clearly, it's not easy to define, is it? Because a repeat interval could be in seconds, in days. But it seems to me that we've got day, week, month. Can't spell. And we've got year. How to store this? This is really interesting. I've never had this problem before in 18 years of programming. Okay, so we've got a repeat interval. We'll have a time of the day in question. We have a, so in this case, every day at time, the repeat of interval is day, and the time would be, so yeah, there's like a coefficient as well, isn't there? So it's like, is that the right word, coefficient? My maths is terrible. What does coefficient mean? A numerical or constant quality placed before and multiplying the variable in an algebraic fashion. I think that is what we are talking about here. It is. We'll have a coefficient. And in this case, every day at time, that would be something like 1, 2, etc. That would be like 1 day, and that's it, every day. Okay. Weekly at time, that would be like 1 week, would it? Am I barking up the wrong tree with this coefficient business? Day of week at time, well that would be something like yeah, it depends which way you want to do it, because if that would just be day, right? That'd just be like, yeah, every day. Whereas this would be like day. So if I wanted to do it on Monday, day 2. Time. Day, time, yeah. 1 week would be 1 week. Day of month would be something like, let's put some space between these. Day of month would be, see, that's tricky because it's not constant, is it? So it would have to be like day 3, but that would give us the day of week, not the day of month. So these are totally different things. And you've got a variable number of days in a month. It's not constant. I really take my hat off to the people that write date libraries. I really do. Date of year. So we've got day of week. We've got day of month. And I guess if you wanted, for example, the last day of the month, you could make that a negative number, like minus 1. Just because you have these, you have these kind of cases where, yeah, I think that could work. You could use a minus index from that as well, because the closer you get up to the end of the month, the more problematic that's going to be. And then you've got day of year. Right. So let's expand on these a bit. If you were going to do this one, you wanted to do every day. I don't need to do that. So every day at 1400. Then you'd say, then it'd just be day of week, no coefficient, and it's not even a coefficient, is it, at all, if I'm thinking about it properly. Day of month, and then you've got no number, and just time. No, day of week. Although day of month or day of year, it doesn't matter at that point. So the format, I guess, for that would look something like, my Vim skills are not good today. There we go. Day of week and 1400, I guess that'd be like seconds from midnight. So it'd be 14 times 60, wouldn't it? So it'd be times 60, no, I guess 14 minutes. That'd give us, yeah, something like that. Yeah. So if we were running through it, we could say, okay, day of week's found. What day of the week? And then if there's nothing on it, then we can just say, yeah, that's fine. And then say, right, well, it's at 2 o'clock, and then add the slot. That could work. Quite like that. If it's weekly at, well, that's the same as day of week, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so that's the same. So you could say this could be like Monday, every Monday at 1800. And then we'd have day of week 2, and then 18 times 60 times 60. Yeah, kind of like this format. I think this might work for us. because all we've got is three things. We have this here, which tells us what we're operating on, the number corresponding to it, which is an integer, and then we have another integer which contains the number of seconds elapsed from the UTC midnight or the local midnight that it happens. Yeah, I think we'll go with that. I think that works. So we would have pattern. Pattern would actually be broken up into three things. It would be broken up into operation, which would be day of week, whatever, and then we would have I don't know what the right term for this is. It's not coefficient. It's kind of like let's say input, and then seconds from, or start seconds maybe. Yeah, and then slot size. That's cool. Yeah, I like this a lot. Do we give it an ID? Does it matter? We're not going to look these up based on ID. We'll probably look them up based on a key. It will be a compound key of those two things. If we wanted to look them up. But we're just going to run this lookup every day, and we're just going to get the whole table every time, so it doesn't matter. How do I create a compound key in SQLite? Primary key right there. Okay, so task ID, that's an integer, and goal ID is an integer. Operation is an integer. Input is an integer. This is going so well. Start seconds, integer, and slot size, integer. And do we have to say whether it's unsigned or signed? Are SQLite integers signed or unsigned by defaults? SQLite signed int integer. Okay, it doesn't say, does it? The value is assigned integer. It does say, it's right there in front of your eyes, Carl. Great stuff. Okay, so that's fine, and we need to do primary key, and that's on task ID and goal ID. And does that close the table? Is that right? Is that good? Yeah, looks it. Yeah. All right. And we'll also need an interface for creating these things, won't we? We'll need to yeah, we'll need to create a new activity for them. So let's do this. Copy. Does that work? Can I do this? I don't know. Where do it's focus DB, isn't it? Okay, here we go. Initial setup. We need to add. That's not it. Paste. That's not it either. I think I can do something like system. Is it system? exec. And then pb copy. Something like that. Sometimes I amaze myself. How the hell did I remember that? Handler. See, episode 33. It's got our back. Okay, don't do that thing, Android Studio, where you overwrite what's already there with your completion mechanics. Alright, so create table if not exists. Prototype. That's one string. Can I do all of this enclosed in strings? Let's have a look. I don't think the plugin's going to work. Why? No, it doesn't. That's a shame. If I was doing this in raw Vim, this part would be considerably less boring. So, can I use a macro? Just do it manually, Cole. What about just do, yep, the dot operator to the rescue. Dots, 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 dots. And then we need to concatenate all this, don't we? So everything needs to have something like the, damn it. It needs to be, alright, dot, 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 alright. And then on the end, I need to do append that, and then I should be able to go dot, 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 dot. Or not, as it may seem. Okay. And then I need to put that on the end of all of them. No, I don't. Not at all. I need to do add pluses to the end of all of them. Okay, keep it going, keep it going. Okay, so question, why is it not highlighting these things? Because of course we have to put the plus there. Okay, so that should create our prototype table if it doesn't exist. And what's the problem here? I don't really see a problem with that. I guess we run it and check the log and see if it works. Where's the log cap? There. Okay, question is, did it run? Well, it hasn't yet. Okay, so we have a bug or an error. SQLite near this. So the problem is with this primary key. Oh, of course, I put an underscore there, look, idiot. Yeah, okay, that should work. No errors, looks good. Okay, so now we have a prototype table. We need an activity to fill these prototypes. And we should probably do it here, yeah. 10K, new Java class, activity, empty activity. And we'll call this the prototype activity. Okay, so here we are, first new activity in a while, and we should probably add something to our context menu in the planner activity. Where is that menu? And then we have a bunch of click options here, don't we? Yeah. So let's open that menu as well. Not this. This isn't what I'm after. It's resources, menu, main menu. And I want something along the lines of as I need the strings file open as well. I'm not sure what to call it. Menu item, repeating events, repeating things, schedule tasks. Yeah, that works. We'll put that after. Yeah, there. Main menu. There you are. Schedule tasks. And the ID for it will be the scheduled or prototype item. Yeah, like that. Okay, back to the activity planner. In here we need a case for it. Doesn't really matter where it is in here, so that's going to be a prototype item. Yep. And then we can do start activity. Do we need to create an intent to start an activity? I think we do. Intent equals new intent, and that takes, what does it take? It takes a class. I think it's will be the prototype activity.class. What else does it take? Let's have a look at the constructor. This one, it's an empty constructor. That's not helpful to me at all. Context and class. So this, is that okay? And then we're not adding any extras to it. We're just going to do start activity intent. See if that works. It does. Wonderful. Okay. We have an in. So we'll need something like, we'll need a recycle view, won't we, to show our existing ones. We will need somewhere we can create them. Yeah, I think we'll create the form for it first. And we'll need something in our focus lib, I think, for the data types. So we have public static final int, and that's going to be something like prototype day of week. Right, is that right? So we got day of week, day of month, and day of year. So 3 of them. So that will be 1. This will be month, 2, and this will be year. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Okay, what were we doing? We'll need to create a form to capture all this. So let's switch into design mode, please. Design. Okay, so in here, let's have a think. Text would be good to explain what we're looking at. That will say something like create a new schedule task. We'll need a task ID, goal ID, operation. These are going to be difficult. Let's do operation, input, start, and slot size first. What we might have to do is start changing some of our activities to support different modes. So if you came into the task mode with a mode of like retrieval, then it changes the intents and what happens as you pass through, and maybe hides the create button and things like that. No, we'd still want that, wouldn't we? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what they kind of do anyway, thinking about it. So we might be able to start those activities and have them feed back to a different activity instead of... Yeah, that could work. I don't know. We'll have a look at that in the next episode because we've only got 5 minutes left and I want to start fleshing out the interface for this. So goal ID, task ID, that's something we're going to have to go through and do in our goal and task activities. Operation, input, start seconds, these aren't. These are things we can do ourselves. So that would be an hour input and minutes input, and they will be spinners. So operation, these are mostly going to be spinners, aren't they? Yeah. So spinner. Put that in the middle. Can we give this a label or a hint? Doesn't look like it, does it? So that will be operation. Prototype spinner. Proto operation. And that's going to have a few options in it, which we'll have to create in duration options. We'll have to create a new one for that. We'll do that in a minute, I guess. Inputs, that is going to be like, if it's day of week, what day of the week is it going to be? And that's going to change depending on what you have in operation. But we will need another spinner for that. And that one we will call, what's that one called? Spinner proto operation. Spinner the Vim bindings really screw this up. Spinner proto. This one is wow, my brain is fried. Input. Okay, and the last one will be start seconds, and then we have slot size as well. So start seconds will probably be 2 spinners side by side. So we'll have one kind of halfway. How do I make this smaller? Yeah, like one there and then another one there. One will be hours, one will be minutes, maybe. I don't know why one's bigger than the other. So that'll be proto spinner hours. This one will be proto spinner minutes. And then we'll have one last one, which will be a spinner for the duration, the slot size. Spinner again. Proto spinner duration. Okay. Basic interface there, very basic. This will need to populate, so we'll need to go back into our strings file. Okay, so we'll make that create a new scheduled task. Get rid of that J. Set the text. Did I not save it? Oh, there it is. Okay, and center align. There. Constrain to the top. And we'll put a 16 pixel. Yeah, nice. And let's just center it, make sure it's centered properly. So this is going to look like garbage, but let's have a look anyway. Yeah, okay. It's something, right? This one is going to be, how do I create a label for it? Let's create the options for it. So new XML values XML file, and this is going to be proto operation, and I should do this with underscores really because everything else is proto underscore operation values or options. And if we look at our duration options here, this is the format that it takes. So I'll just copy this. String array name is operation options. And then we'll have, there's 3, 1, 2, 3, day of week, day of month, day of year. That's going to be a hard one to capture, isn't it? Because if it's in day of year mode, nobody's going to know. Oh yeah, it's on day 252 of the year, every year. And that's going to differ as well every year because of leap years. Tricky one. So yeah, we're going to have a lot of work to do with this. a lot of complex date math that we have to work out in order to do it, to capture the input properly from the user. But I'd rather do it on that side than on the programmatic side. Coming to the end of the stream, guys, so if you've got any questions, put them in the chat now, and I'll have a look at them for you shortly after I've populated this list. If I can find the XML. Where are we? Here, and entries. Where is it? Array. Operation options, there we are. So I'm going to constrain this to here, am I? No, I think I'm going to put a label in first. Text. The proto operation label. Jump back into the strings file again. Repeats on. Yeah, that'll do for now. Move this down a bit. Move this down a bit. So that's going to be like here. It's going to be constrained to the bottom of this and the side there. I always use 16 pixel padding. And then this is going to be constrained to the top of this. Probably with an 8 and a 16 there and a 16 there. Why isn't that working? I have to zoom right in to do it. It doesn't like me at all, does it? Okay, maybe that'll work. I don't know. This needs the text changing to yeah. Save, run it, let's go. Question in the chat. Is it possible to brute force dictionary attack a Facebook account or any social media account in general? I don't know, I'm not a hacker. Sorry. I don't know. I mean, if I was building those things, then I would make sure that it was rate limited, so it'd make a brute force attack really difficult, because you'd have to try one password per 5 minutes or every time you got locked out or something. I don't know. No idea. Sorry. Okay. Yep. Looking okay. Great. All right, I think I'm gonna call it there, guys, because this is gonna take us, I think, 5 or 6 hours to implement fully. So yeah, I'm glad we started it. It's gonna really open up the scope of this app when this feature is in, I think. Yeah. So if you joined the stream late, or you know, just catching the end of it and you're wondering where you can watch this back, I have a YouTube channel here. It's 0 to Android on the Coding with Carl channel. And you can check out all the previous episodes there. This one I'll try and get uploaded tonight for you to watch later. And I will be back tomorrow, as usual, at... it's Friday tomorrow, isn't it? So it'll be 5:30 PM tomorrow. I'll be back. You can see me back here for an hour, and we'll carry on with this. Yeah, nothing for me to tick off in the to-dos. We've started already. So I'm just going to check my code into version control like I do at the end of every stream. End of episode 33. Started work on prefilled tasks or prototypes. Created the activity that creates them, and the database table that holds them. Great. Let's commit, and also need to make sure that I save these notes. There we go. Wonderful. Okay, that is the end of the stream, everyone. So thank you for joining me today. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care, enjoy coding, all that stuff. Good night.